special guest with us. We have with us Praveen Kumar, Secretary Minister of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India. His take will be very important because we got two perspectives from two states, one from Kerala, one from Karnataka. But what about the Government of India's vision for the skill development and entrepreneurship? So my question to Mr. Praveen Kumar is that nurturing entrepreneurial mindset, facilitating upgraded skill development in the new world order, role of government, industry, and academia. Your take on that, Shri Praveen Kumar.
Thank you, Savik, for giving me the opportunity. Uh, I'll focus first on to answer the second part of your question first, the skilling part, and then go to the entrepreneurship part, because they are organically linked in that way. You get skilled and then you become an entrepreneur. So what I like to say that skilling per se is not like education. Where education, you have studied Newton and Newton's laws will continue. New laws will come, but Newton's laws will continue. Skilling sees continuous changes, there are disruptions. Technological change will bring in disruptions. The safety razor led to the barber's skills going waste. People don't go to the barber for shaving after the safety razor. Then societal changes may come in, the practices may change. So that is another part. And COVID itself has led to a big transformation in the entire skilling and entrepreneurship landscape. The job and labor market has changed totally. Many sectors have been impacted very, very badly. Take it aviation, tourism, hospitality. Some sectors have even benefited, healthcare, pharma, IT, with all this work from home culture and conferences through various conferencing software like this present software which we are having. So there has been a mixed. So some of the skilling sectors may go down, while some may benefit. And this gig economy has grown up in the system, the delivery system, people delivering to home. All these things have also started quite a lot in this because of COVID, and many things will remain even after COVID. Even after the COVID goes away, we will keep on talking many times online, and then the gig economy may remain. So all the skill sets will have to change. We have to adapt to the new skill sets will come. And industries also may move to automation because they don't want any shock because of the disruption of migrants going away. There is no labor. So they may shift to automation. So a lot of jobs may come, traditional jobs may come down, new jobs may go up. Then again, the skilling process also will have to undergo a change. How you skill? Presently, you have this physical classroom and labs, but COVID has exposed the limitation of depending only on the physical classroom. So we'll need a digital mode component, something online or blended courses will have to be brought in, perhaps with AR and VR, with more realistic videos, which will help teaching. But there are two caveats. Skilling, you have to finally work by hand, so we can't have totally online skilling except in some courses which are IT based. Otherwise, you have to come to the classes. Second, who consumes skilling nowadays? The skilling courses, which is the more marginalized sections of the society. And once they consume and they do not have access to hi-fi iPads or laptops, other things they don't have, they have to depend on a 5,000 rupees smartphone. So our skilling online should also be focused on consumption on this kind of a low cost smartphones. The areas of skilling is also going to change in the country and internationally. In the country, now there is a focus on self-reliance, Atmanirbharta. So a lot of investment is going to come. So we have to orient our skilling to take care of the investment. Now you have heard that Tesla is going to set up a plant in the country. Other big organizations are going to set up the plants in the country. So for that, we need a skilled labor. So our skilling will have to be oriented towards that. Then the international demand is also something which in 21st century India is well suited to satisfy the international demand because of the demographic dividend. We have a young population. Worldwide, it's an aging population. So there's an opportunity for skilling for the other countries. So our skilled labor goes there. The third most important thing, based on what I hinted earlier, that skilling keeps on changing, is that we don't have to only give technical inputs to a person, because what we teach him today may not be useful 5 years from now. We have to teach a person how to skill himself subsequently, because the world is changing, the job market is changing, so he should be able to adjust to the change. For example, you take lathe was there, and the CNC came, the 5-axis CNC came. So it's a lifelong learning. Skilling should focus on lifelong learning. Other thing which may come is multi-skills. More and more employers will like a person to have a number of skills. Like suppose I am an old person needing geriatric care. I can't afford a geriatric care person, a driver, a cook. I would like a person to do all the things. Or I am a small bread and breakfast hotel, where with a small hotel, I can't have a separate doorman, a separate front office man, a separate housekeeping man, separate cook, separate bearer. All that will have to be combined in 2 or 3 persons should have all the skills. Other thing which will happen is cutting edge technologies. As I said, automation will become very normal, and dependence on IT and cutting edge technology, data analytics, VR, etc., cloud computing, etc., will go up. So skilling in these areas is also going to go up. Other thing which we normally see, whenever we see things for domestic consumption and things for international consumption, there's a quality difference that we won't be able to afford. We have to have equally good quality skills both for domestic and international, because our exports will depend on the skill of the persons, productivity of the persons who are producing the goods. And if we have a different kind of quality, then we won't be able to supply international quality products. And so skilling has to be international quality. Then also we need soft skills and language skills, because you have to interact with the society. So those things are very important. Other thing which will take place is that education and vocational education, formal and vocational, that separation will slowly come down. Even the national education policy says that by 2025, 50% of the people engaged in education, students of education, will be exposed to skilling. That is going to come down. So that from skilling, what will happen to the entrepreneurship? I'm not talking about the large size entrepreneurs. I'm talking more of the micro and nano entrepreneurs, which will go up in number and large scale. With the gig economy, every plumber will be an entrepreneur, whose services will be hired by a person. Every driver will be an entrepreneur. He will have a car, he will be linked to some Uber or Ola or any, and then he will have to run and make money out of it. So entrepreneurship will grow, micro entrepreneurship will grow, because like even a Golgappa fellow who is making Golgappas on a roadside hand cart. So he will like to scale himself into a proper shop with proper quality. So those things will happen. But there are a lot of problems in entrepreneurship which as government, as society will have to address, because there are a lot of barriers to growth of entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurial mindset is missing amongst the large population. They prefer a job, a sure job, access to finance, infrastructural constraints, market linkages, e-commerce sites, access will come in where you will be able to sell through the e-commerce sites. Other thing which will change in skilling and entrepreneurship is the financing issue. If you see, the financing is taking place primarily through the government, state governments and the central government. It will change slowly, and the employer-paid skilling will become norm instead of taxpayer-funded skilling. So this is these are changes which we'll see in the 21st century as far as skilling and entrepreneurship is concerned. This is a limited thing I wanted to say, but it has gone a bit big, but that's what I wanted to say on the subject. Yeah, Souvik, I'm through.
Yeah, but you talked about redefining ourselves for the need of the 21st century in terms of skilling and entrepreneurship ecosystem. But taking cue from what you have said, how important it becomes for the role of government and industry, academia, and for collaborations for future in this perspective.
No, I think if you see who is the consumer of a skilled person, it is the industry. So industry has to actively involve itself in the skilling process and not limit itself to their own workers which they can skill and use, and which is a costly process. You skill them for 6 months or 1 year and use them. So what we have also try to nurture, even in our ITI system, we want to have this dual system of training where the students do some theory and basic lab in the ITI, and then goes to the factory shop floor to do the training in the machines. See what happens, machines keeps on changing. So ITI is not in a financial position to keep on upgrading their machines based on the requirement. But industries keep on upgrading because for that's the profit. The only way to get profit is to be have the latest. So people can get trained in the industry itself for the latest technology and latest processes. And so when they pass out, they are job ready. Industry also benefits that they get trained persons whom they can employ straight away and who can start delivering straight away instead of taking them through a training for 6 months. So that is one advantage. Other thing, apprenticeship is one of the models which is used very much in countries like Germany, etc., where apprenticeship is the basic model of training, where people go to the factories and get trained, in the businesses and get trained. Somehow industries have not picked up this that much. So they will have to come forward more. We are trying to do advocacy in those areas. Even for short-term training, the reskilling and upskilling, industries can play a major role. When the technology changes, they can train people and design, and they can anticipate what are the changes in technology, design the courses. Our sector skill councils are supposed to do that, but perhaps the actual practicing industries will have to play a major role in that. That's my limited take as of now on this subject.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was Sri Praveen Kumar, Secretary, Minister of Skill and Development, Minister of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Government of India, who delivered the keynote address in the inaugural of National Skill and Entrepreneurship Innovation Conclave. And his take is very important that what should be the role of the government, should be the role of industry, should be the role of academia for the future of bringing comprehensive skill and entrepreneurship ecosystem. With this.